Hey, Liz Miller, VP and Principal Analyst here at Constellation Research. And I want to talk a little bit about a raft of announcements that ServiceNow has launched, a couple months before Knowledge, a month before Knowledge. I'm even forgetting the calendar myself. But ServiceNow came out strong with a big release and a big shift in thinking around not just how the very platform of ServiceNow is architected and built for this future of AI, but how the commercial relationship across ServiceNow is going to operate. Introducing 3 new pricing plans that really don't look at how much is being offered or how much is in the package, but rather is priced and collected in how a customer is evolving through their AI maturity and how that maturity is manifesting on the ServiceNow platform. We've long said that ServiceNow really has envisioned itself as a platform of platforms, but now we're really starting to see that ServiceNow has also built and based on this context engine, right? This context engine that is fueling AI and is not just feeding AI data, but is really intentionally working to provide and give access to context so that AI and all of the workflows and all of the automations that we have coming in from all different systems across the enterprise are not only pulling from this source of context and data, but is also contributing. Because yes, we need that data to make actions, but we need to understand what happened in those actions. We need to understand what happened in those processes to be able to then continue to make automations and to continue to make those decisions better and to continue to improve those decisions over time. So listen, anyone who has been around the ServiceNow ecosystem, anyone who's worked with any of the products, anyone who has implemented these products, we understand that the foundation of this has really been that customer service data model, right? It's been that graph. So for customer service customers with ServiceNow, it's been about the service graph, that complex data organization that is able to take all of these signals, points, events, everything that's happening across a multitude of systems and pull all of that complexity into something that not only organizes that data, but also begins to organize the connections, the dependencies, the correlations. It brings all of it into view, right? We've all seen those graph diagrams. And so we understand that, like, yes, if we start to ask the question here, there's that hub and spoke that brings where all of those connections and all of those dependencies come into play. But the promise of AI is that we can take multiple graphs. We can take a knowledge graph and a service graph and begin to look across those two. That normally takes an awful lot of human brain power, expertise, and skill. AI is accelerating that. AI is able to look and make these connections, make the connections across complexity that, quite frankly, we were really struggling to do before. Most organizations really had a hard time reaching the reality of that. We had a hard time reaching the reality of context. That is what the ServiceNow platform is now promising that it is going to unleash and be able to do. So in that same ServiceNow motion where we are able to take that data and take our existing systems and bring them into that graph reality, this is what we're talking about across a lot of different points that we are going to call graphs that fill into this context engine. Because we're now looking at this platform that can enable us to kind of walk in that crawl, walk, run kind of maturity curve that we want to take AI in, where we might be looking at things that are AI assistants, things that are going to help us with kind of remedial tasks, help us with the mundane. Then we're going to maybe mature into that agent world where we might start actually providing that autonomous agent with different tasks that it can do. It can start to see things end to end. And the top end is when we're really looking at how do we have this be that true assistant? How do we have that be that advisor that can actually reason, act, bring that insights back, identify new areas of opportunity, but it can take that end-to-end task and instead have that be an end-to-end workflow that's a multi-step, multi-stage, multi-system workflow, right? Crawl, walk, run. That's what we're all been trying to do. But in an age where we've also been battling different types of financial and commercial models, we had to get rid of that highly predictable subscription and that seat-based going into consumption-based. Some folks have been going into resolution-based. Then what's the resolution? Is at the end of a conversation, did it have to answer something? Did it have to do something? Because pricing is complex these days. But what ServiceNow is trying to do is actually bring those two models together, and they're trying to actually base it where their customers are maturing as opposed to where their services are maturing. Because of their new foundation, AI isn't everything. There is not going to be a question of where you stick AI. This is not a bolt-on for ServiceNow anymore. AI is in everything that ServiceNow is going to be delivering, full stop, right? The foundation, the platform, that's there to make that happen. The context engine is there to make that happen. The data availability is there to make that happen. Now they're having to follow with pricing so that as the organization gets more mature, as we start to advance through how we see AI interacting and working with our organizations, pricing is going to follow in that model. Okay. As far as products, there's an interesting one that I want to highlight. Enterprise Service Management. ESM, there are a lot of folks that look at ESM and they're like, it's nothing more than ITSM. You just put some more nodes on it. Don't worry about it. It's ITSM for the enterprise. But savvy organizations are realizing that it's a lot more. Yes, it's based on a lot of those ITSM principles, but they're actually being like, okay, I don't need to just bash a ticket into oblivion. This isn't about just making sure the ticket closes. This is about ensuring that all of the points of this very complex process, let's take, for example, employee onboarding, that all of those points of that process not only have the data that it needs, has the context that makes sure that their workflow and that their part of that is understood. It has access to the data, it can make decisions, and it can be automated. That requires more than just, I can follow the ticket through the process. It requires that every single different part of the organization that has its own systems, has its own processes, has its own operations, that they can connect us to one another in that holistic workflow and in that workflow that goes across multiple systems. That has often been a very expensive proposition for very large, complex organizations. It's been an impossible financial proposition for mid-sized organizations who are starting to feel that weight of complexity, who understand that this isn't as simple as like shouting over the cube and be like, hey, Bob, someone's starting. Things get complex. And with mid-market organizations that are growing fast, high growth, high velocity, mid-market organizations, ESM has to become a practice and a principle that connects context and process, not just a ticket. ServiceNow is now introducing a purpose-built ESM that is commercially sound, ready, and available for mid-market organizations. It's going to have out-of-the-box workflows, processes. Again, remember, AI is built into everything. And because of their commercial expertise in those enterprise-ready ESM solutions, they are able to identify the most common workflows, the most common systems and solutions, the most common agents and skills that mid-market organization is going to need to deploy fast and to work fast and really build up that ESM muscle. So if you're in that space, certainly lands on the short list of something to go check out. With that, last note. This is all before knowledge. We haven't even hit knowledge yet. And it feels like there's a whole lot of change happening, not just at ServiceNow, but because of ServiceNow. Here's my note to ServiceNow. Please have Bill write out in a motorcycle, because during our pre-brief with analysts, Amit Safri said the line that the age of AI sidecars, AI that's bolted on, that age of the AI sidecar AI, it's gone. What do they mean by that? What happens when you bolt a sidecar onto a highly powerful motorcycle that could go with amazing velocity where it wants to go? That drag the drag, that the additional slowness, the pull that sidecar brings, that slows down velocity. It slows down the ability to move fast with intention. It could pull you off in all sorts of directions if you don't know where it is going, how it operates, or what randomness it brings to the equation. Releasing that sidecar suddenly gives us control back of the great big massive machine we want to have move forward. So please have Bill come out in a motorcycle. I'm just saying, like, just get some big, nice, shiny Harley with a sidecar on it and then release the sidecar. If Idris Elba happens to be in the sidecar, I'm sorry for him, but at least we'll see him on stage and fly off. Just saying. We're going to hear a lot from ServiceNow, and certainly from Bill McDermott, about what happens if we don't acknowledge that AI has been bolted on, that AI has been that sidecar. And ServiceNow is giving us solutions that they believe are going to make sure that not only do we not have to think of AI as the sidecar, that we actually think about AI as part of the mechanics, part of the machine that we are driving. It gives us back that control. It gives us back our freedom. So we got about, like a month until Knowledge? So we're going to have a lot more coming from ServiceNow, but this is a pretty strong indicator of just how hard, just how spicy ServiceNow intends to be about what we have been doing and how we have been misunderstanding how to deploy AI across our enterprise for a purpose. And with that, thanks for tuning in. We'll chat later.